对对对对对。
行，他们都来了吗？
看一下啊，现在是学生，现在是有4个，然后看一下确实，现在是侯春徐到了，Eric 到了，然后 Geoffrey 到了，然后林书宏到了，是吧？对，还有看一下，应该是还缺2个，对，我记得是还缺2个。
这个假期上课，这个让很多人这个觉得挺委屈的。
唉，没办法，说实话，我高中的时候也不想假期上课。
哎呀，但是
啊，
不那个什么，就是没办法呀。这个人生，你看现在，
现在滑铁卢倒好了，现在根本没有假期。
对呀，你们上学根本就没有假期，而且我们工作了也没有假期。你看谁问问父母哪个工作有假期，除了干老师的以外。
是，没办法，就得干，除非国定假期稍微休息2天。
是，但是这个以后的这个形势真的挺严峻的。我觉得再过4、5年之后吧，我觉得这个 coding 应该是每个人差不多会了，至少会一门 coding 语言了就。
就至少是 Python 吧。说
Python 不
实话，
一定是 Python，但是那个别的肯定都会有，因为现在编程语言太多
对，
太多。嗯，
咱
而
说近期还是比较火的，可能就是 Python。
对，而且你看现在他们小孩玩游戏，你看那个Roblox 嘛，然后呢，我看它里面有那个有源代码，你可以自己编自己的游戏室，然后呢，这个如果编好的话，可以邀请别人来玩。现在目前这个挺受欢迎的。
还有这东西，感觉
啊，
已经和时代脱节了。
哎呀，现在这个游戏挺风靡的。然后呢，它是在疫情期间，然后呢是这个就是原来是挺不出名的一个公司，然后疫情期间呢，因为它的这个理念好，然后呢，所以呢就转成了这个上市了嘛，啊，上市对，行，看差不多了，你可以开始了。我跟那个
对，
他留言了，到时候看看。
行，好的好的，
来，
行，那我们直接开始吧。那recording 再检查一下，看好了。好brief review of yesterday. So what did we do yesterday? A little bit of a review before the lecture is always good. Lecture 2. First thing, we introduced those two IDEs. If you have not yet installed it, we definitely recommend you to install it and play with Python by yourself. Okay, and strings. We talked about raw strings. Raw strings just ignores any kind of escape character and treat it as normal characters. We have different kinds of escape characters. There's go back, next line, return is the one we don't usually use. Tab is just means eight spaces. Escape double quotation, escape single quotation, and escapes the backslash. Okay, and then here is an example of next line. Here is an example of backslash t, and this is just a little exercise for dealing with those escape characters. Okay, and then string formatting. This means the percentage sign is used for string formatting, and for string we will do percentage s, and then the parameter that you're going to pass in is just going to follow by again this percentage sign, so percentage price. Okay, and then you can sort of pass in any type of variable there, as long as you specified it into string, then it just automatically converts it for you. Okay, and other than %s, there is %d, %i for base 10, %o for base 8, %x for base 16, %e for scientific notation, %f, lowercase f, uppercase f, is for a floating point number, and %character, %c is for a single character. So here's an example of %c, %f, %e. You can follow by like this -2 for like to the power of something. Okay. And for floating point numbers, and this is the one that we usually use the most. We have this number here, 8, 0, plus, minus, and then a decimal point, right? And for after the number after decimal point, it means how many digits of decimal places is reserved. And then the number before decimal place point means the minimum length to be replaced. And 0 is for filling filling the space with pad zeros, and plus just means bring the sign of the number, minus means it's left aligned. Okay, so yeah, those are example. I hope that yesterday you practiced it pretty well. Yeah, so here is just an exercise. Treat strings as a series of lists or using index. I mean, this code box, even though it is string, this code box and this code box, even though those two are like just, very straightforward, you might think it is pretty easy, but it is most useful um, thing right now in terms of strings. Okay, so like it is basically like how to access a string, right? Okay, and then I think that once string is established, you cannot like change those characters. Okay, and then yeah, so you can access by index. You always start from 0 and then you count, and then the last one here, e, is -1. Okay, and then just get yourself familiar with those indexing. You can also get a substring using this method. Print s from 0 to 5, and then include left, not include right. So from 0 to 5 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then here Python without an n. Okay, if you change this to 6, then it will actually print Python. Okay, and also, you can use negative index here, but basically the rule is include left, not include right. Okay, and you can also omit the start of the string, or the start of the index or end of the index. So you can do like something like this: 7 and then column, and then this just means starting from 7 and all the way to the end, and so on and so forth. I'm just not gonna repeat myself. You can use in operator to check if a substring is in a string. Okay, so you can see Python in S, say true, mad in S. Let me run this again, and it should give me false. Oh yeah, the problem is I have not compiled S yet. So yeah, okay, here it is. But yeah, so until here. So yeah, the Python in S will be true, mad in S will be false. Okay, and then you can get the length using len function, and then max and min, and the idea of ASCII table I have showed you yesterday. Not gonna elaborate a lot. Title means capitalize every word, like the first letter of every word. Lower means make it all lower. Upper means make it all upper. And then the way you call the function is that string dot upper, or string dot lower, or string dot title. Okay, and then dealing with white spaces, you can do left strip, a right strip, and then strip. So left strip just strips the left, a right strip just strip the right, and strip just strips both of them. And then value of s is not changed after you do something strip. And if you really want to change it, then you do s equals to s dot strip. Okay. Search and delete. So you can do search or start with, end with, find, index. oops, find, index, replace. Start with, end with, self-explanatory. Find means that you're trying to find a position of some substring, and then if you cannot find it, then return -1. You can specify where it starts looking. So for example, you do E, comma 13, and then you will find it the next available E after 13, after character 13. Okay. Yeah, so index also tries to find the position of a substring. If not found, then trigger a value arrow. So yeah, I mean, not the same as find. The index, assuming that there is already, you know what is in that string and you know what you're talking about. So it just go ahead and try to found it. But if you do not know what you're talking about, then the compiler will throw an arrow. Okay. So yeah, replace, just normally replace all occurrence of substring with another substring. It basically replaces everything. If you put in a number inside of it, it just tells you how many times it replaced. So I mean, that's not really useful. Split and join. So you can split a string by one specific character, and if you do not pass in any character, you just be splitted default by space. Okay, and then you can call some string, then dot join, and then in this case here, print my string. And if you're interested, the type of my string is a list. Okay, so the join here, if you look at the join function, yeah, it doesn't give me. Okay, yeah, if you look at the join function, then it means it will take a list. Okay, and yeah, here is the exercise. Before I actually go through the answer, did everyone finish the exercise, or at least like give it a try? Like, feel free to open your mic or type something in the chat. Like any kind of feelings after doing the exercise, or you know, feedbacks. Yeah, I mean, open your mic or talk in the chat before I actually call someone. I mean, yeah, any feelings or comments, doesn't have to be like go out here and explain your answers or what kind of whatever. So like, is everyone feeling okay? Like, doable? Too difficult? Okay, so I am actually gonna call someone. So, Ling Shu Hong, can you open your mic and and yeah, have you done the exercise? All right, everyone is just deadly quiet today. Not feeling like talking. Pretty sleepy for a 10 a.m. lecture. All right. I guess I should just continue. All right. So yeah, the first exercise is that find the first substring on the second half, first substring Python on the second half of the string, and then replace it with C++. Okay, and then hint is the idea of integer division, which we're going to talk about it today, and where n is the number you want to divide. Okay, and here's my program, as simple as that, 2 lines of code. Okay, so start Python. I put it into a variable, and it does not matter what is called. The main thing is this, sample text, which is this text that I am given. I do find Python. And where do I actually do find Python? I do find Python, and then I get the length of simple text, right? And divide it by 2 using like integer division, right? Because when you're dealing with an index, uh, it has to be integer, right? Like you cannot just pass in the float in there. So using integer division just wants to make sure it is safe, because like you do not know how long is the sample text, or like you do not have to know how long it is the sample text. Like you don't have to develop cases for like all the number of lengths or even number of lengths, right? And I mean, in this case, it is not that strict, because I don't think Python is right in the middle of the string. Like why I mean right in the middle, I mean like the length, half of the length of the string. So like it is somewhere after the half of the length mark. So yeah, you don't have to be really strict here. You can do more, but like I would say that this is enough. Okay, and then what you can do is using a little bit of trick, or using a little bit of string indexing. Yeah, some sample text equals to blah blah blah. Yeah, um, if you can elaborate more what you want to say, then it will be great. But yeah, sample text. I mean, could be anything, right? Imagine there's nothing in there. Right? I'm gonna try to ask quick questions after. Definitely, no worries. Let me finish this explaining this line of code, and I will open to questions. Okay, so I will doing print. So print sample text from the beginning to the characters 309. And wait, what? Okay, so yeah. Because I actually run this, yeah, let me actually run this start Python. Yeah, I must be forgetting, like actually put in, wait a minute, there is a problem because I did not compile this line. Yeah, so 309, I was not very smart when I was doing this, but we should do this. So yeah, so I get the index of start Python, which is like the character that has the letter P. Okay, and then I do column and until the letter P, so it gives me everything before that. Okay, and then I replace it with C++, right? And after that, I do start Python +6, moving a little bit of index so it skips the letter Python, and then I just concatenate the rest of them. Okay, so after I run this, blah blah blah. After I scroll down there, this one is actually the one. So Arthur, blah blah blah, takes you through C++'s core language features and libraries instead of here. Uh, Instead of here, it says Python. Okay, so yeah, that's basically my solution here. Now I'm opening up to questions and doubts. Yeah, feel free to open your mic. Chat is okay. This is my code. Okay. Since you have sent your code, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And even though I hate it, I would put it on. I would put you on a spot and actually copy your code, and then try to run it here. Okay. So yeah, print first half, second half. So what you're doing is you're getting a length, which is length symbol test. Divider is length divided by 2, which means integer division. So what you're saying is that you know, you get the half length mark, right? So the length is 444, and if you divide it by 2, integer division, but there is a space between the first half and the second half. Okay. First half is equal to sample text, then to divider, then the second half is sample text, and then everything after, and then second half equals to second half dot replace Python and C++. So here is the thing. And the question, it says find the first substring Python on the second half of the string and then replace it with C++. I am actually not sure if there is any more Pythons after the string. So unfortunately not. But here's the thing that you want to watch out. If there is another Python in this text on the second half, then you will get a different answer, right? So remember that the replace function actually replaces every single instance of this Python into C++. Okay, and in terms of that, I mean, it looks pretty good. I am not wait. So let me double check. Okay, so I don't know where exactly this space is that you're talking about. Okay, so I'm just gonna print it separately. Between ITS. Oh, so like it is when concatenating those two strings, right? Okay. Let me try this. Yeah. Having a hard time finding where actually it is, but it is okay. So where exactly? Oh yeah, code by leveraging it. So there is a space here. What might be the reason? You divide it by 2. Okay. Let me actually see that if it seems like when I'm printing those in a separate way, yeah, let me just admit one person. It seems like when we are printing it in a separate way, then it is the space is not there. So that is pretty strange. Let me try this. What about plus? Yeah, what I would suspect is that it is somehow related to the print function. And it does not do direct concatenation. It sort of separate your two strings by a little space. Yeah, so if you directly add it, then it is fine. But if you print it using a comma fashion, and which I would suspect that Python will just do a little space when printing those two strings. So remember this sep thing? If you change it to no character, and I suspect, or not I suspect, I think that it is fine as well. Okay, so leveraging its. Okay, so yeah, so this is a behavior of Python that, yeah. So I think for concatenating those two strings, it's sort of like default adding a space. Yeah, and then it has somehow to do with those separate characters. Okay, so here is the thing. So yeah, remember that, don't do the replace, because I want you to get more exercise on those string indexing. It is pretty important to deal with. Sometimes the replace do not work. I mean, if you, yeah, I don't think there is a good solution in this use case for using a replace. And if you have to use this replace, then you're gonna make sure that the string or you're replacing there is like one instance of Python according to our question here. Okay, but yeah, I mean, replace here just makes the whole thing more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, so this idea is to get yourself more familiar with the string indexing. String indexing is a pretty important idea here. Okay, another the second question is also for string indexing. So I mean, look at that, one single line of code. Oh yeah, by the way, so I mean, when you're dealing with strings, I guess, if you don't want to run into this same question, separating it by a comma, you can just use the add operator, right? The add operator concatenates the string by itself, and then you're, sort of manipulating with the spaces. So that is a good thing to do. So, okay, so what is the question? Write a Python program that gets a string and from two given strings separated by a space and swap the first two characters of the string. So when I run this, and what I am just gonna use what for example, two names for now. For example, Eric. I don't know if that gives a scare to Eric, but if that does, sorry about that. And Rio, and I hit enter. Rick Earl. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what is this talking about, but that's the idea, right? So I am actually taking string two, the first two character, 0 to 2. And then one good thing about Python is, think about this. So when you're trying to reach, for example, you want to take two characters from from the string. What you'll usually do is just do from 0 to 2. Like there is nothing else that you need to do, because think about zero. How does 0 to 2 works? So you count from 0, and then you count 1, but does not include 2, right? So in that case, it will be like 2 characters. And this would also make sense in here. So when you want to get 2 characters, you just do 0, 2, right? When you want to get 10 characters, you just do 0 to 10, right? So that is the idea, and that is some familiarity that you need to get. Okay, and then S1 is to the end, right? And then you start from the second character. You just do 2, right? Because oh wait, because you need to do starting from the third character. Sorry about that. You have to start from, because you're swapping those the first 2 characters of both strings, right? So 0, 1, 2, and then you actually start from the third character I here, right? So 0, 1, 2, and then you continue with IC, and then you add a space, and then you basically do the same thing to the other string. Okay, is there any kind of questions or concerns, or anyone wants to share their code? It is very welcome. Um, I like to, look at someone else's code and see if there is any problems, because, this kind of like one-on-one interaction, or like looking at those codes will actually make sure that you did everything right. Or like, yeah, sometimes when you're a beginner and you're writing code, you don't notice that there is a problem with your code. And it would be great if there is someone there to take a look. Okay, so seems that no one wants to share it yet. Any questions or concerns, or yeah? All right, all right. Seems like everyone is pretty happy with their solution. And yeah, last question before we actually jump into today's lecture. So this one is easy. Input take a string and then call string upper and call string lower. So that is just a very easy use case. I expect you to know this by yourself. Okay, so I am just gonna turn off this, and we actually want to get into today's lecture. We are pretty running short of time, but yeah, it seems to be okay. So today we're gonna talk about operators. So there are, I mean, does not have to be really strict, but 6 sort of operators here. So there is assignment operator for assignment, arithmetic operators. Sorry about that. Arithmetic operators, that is for calculation. Bitwise operator, it is a bit challenge one. Bitwise operator is dealing with individual bits. It is a little bit extra, but I still put that into details, because if you really want to do computer science, you sometimes need a little bit of information on bits. So binaries and stuff, but like I should be able to cover it quickly. Okay, so index operators, index that we have been using from yesterday, and the exercises, right? Dealing with the index of strings. Comparison operators, larger than, equal to, like those kind of comparison. Logical operators, and or not. Okay, so let me first get started with the assignment operator. The assignment operator, the easiest one and the most one that we use is the sign equal. Okay, it does not mean equal equal. It means it's a sign equal, and it's do it is used for assignment. Okay, so st is equal to Python, pi is equal to 3.14, visit is equal to true, and then st2 is equal to st. It is meaning that, you know, you can assign a variable using another variable. Okay, so like, yeah, just take that value and then assign it there. Okay, and then in Python you can do this. So a is assigned a is assigned with b, is assigned with c, is assigned with 20. So at the end, every variable a, b, c will both be 20, and then what happens is 20 is assigned to 20 is assigned to c, then the whole expression has the value 20, and then the whole expression will be assigned to b. So b has 20 as well, and then whole expression will still be 20, and then a is assigned to 20. Okay, so that is how assignment works. And if you're really lazy, you can do something like this, right? So like initialize a bunch of variables. Okay, so arithmetic operators, you can do the plus, that is just straightforward. There's nothing to talk about. Subtract or negation. So the minus, you can do, you know, a minus b, or just do minus a. So it just negates the variable. Start can be used for both numbers or strings. It's interesting. I will illustrate this with a example. Um, Slash or double slash. So this is for division, or the double slash is for integer division. Note that Python does not allow dividing by 0, or double slash it by 0, or the next operator percentage is the remainder, and it does not allow remainder by 0 as well. Okay, and then the last one, last but not least, multiply, that means power. Okay, so if you have a as 5.2, b as 3.1, then a plus b is just print a plus b gives you 8.3, right? Um, Let me actually run each cell so that I don't get into any trouble. Okay, yeah, so yeah, 5.2, 3.1 gives you 8.3. And if you a is equal to a, b is equal to b, then you can add those connecting strings. Okay, so subtraction, self-explanatory. I'm not just gonna waste my time here. X is equal to 5. X is equal to negative x, print x. So x is equal to negative x, so x is now negative 5, and I print x, it will give me negative 5. Compare with the following. If you put a negative in front of it, it does the negation, but if you put the positive in front of it, it does not make you make the variable positive. If you really want to do it, there is a function called absolute value, and it just anything you just put in there, it returns a positive. It returns a positive copy. Okay, and yeah, so you can do this as well. E and f equal to something something, and then you do multiply. Okay, and that is also self-explanatory. I do not want to talk about it. Everyone can do multiplication. Interesting, a little bit interesting stuff here. You can actually multiply a string, right? And then in Python, if you actually multiply a string, you will got, for example, how many copies of the string. So if you do S3 is equal to Python, and then you do S3 times 3, then you will have Python, Python, Python. Well, it is great, isn't it? Okay, so division, print 19 divided by 4, give you 4.75. Do integer division just gives you 4, okay? And then if you do this, 1 divided by 0, it will definitely give you an arrow. It is called division by 0 arrow, and it is I mean, it is good in terms of you know what your arrow exactly is, so that is great. Avoid that kind of situations. You sometimes will meet that. and especially with dealing with the user inputs, those ones could be something to watch out. Okay, print 19% by 4. Percent means remainder. If anyone does not know how to use remainder, the remainder is that means that if you use 19 divided by 4, you will get 4 and then remain 3, right? It's like 就像小学时候做那个，就比如说就是多少多少乘除法，然后就比如说是一个数字除以几，对吧？然后余几 remainder 这个 operator 就是意思就是余几 ，OK。So yeah, if you do a remainder to 0, this will also give you a 0 division arrow. If you and comment this, there is a syntax error already. So yeah, this is comment. So yeah, if you do here integer division or module by 0, okay, so that is the arrow. So I run this again, then it is good. Okay, so interesting stuff here. Modulus. So everyone can do positive moduluses. It is easy. It is nice. So 5 remind 3 gives you 2, right? So you just divide it and then. But what about negative ones? At first glance, you might think it is easy, but apparently it is not. So -5 mod -3, and you might wonder how that works. And the rule of thumb is that you first do a divide, right? Like, because when you do mod, you will first divide, and then the next step will be get the difference between like the integer division and the real answer, right? So what I mean is that, for example, you would first do -5 divided by -3, right? And what does that give you? It gives you 1.6, right? And then the function mod, or I mean the operator mod, in Python specifically, and interestingly, the operator mod works differently in different kind of languages. So you have to be extremely careful about that, okay? But in Python specifically, in this case, -5 divided by -3 will give you 1.666, right? And if you mod that, it will make the answer to like 1. Okay, but this is because integer division, right? And then the result will be 1. Then you use this 1 to multiply by -3, right? Then you multiply that -3, you will get -3, right? So and then you use -5 to minus that that answer. So -5, then you do -5 minus -3 times 1. If I really want to be neat here, so -3 multiplied by 1, which is the answer that's using for integer division, and then you will subtract that from a -5, which gives you -2. This is still fairly simple and understandable, but look at this. Oh, oops. That is the run thing that I want to uncomment. I actually want to uncomment this. Let me actually comment this so that we do not get. So 5% by -3 gives you -1, and you might think, what the hell is going on, right? Like, how in earth does 5 mod by -3 gives you -1? Okay, and to answer this question, you will do this. 5 integer division by -3 is -2. And you might also wonder, why is that? And until you do 5 divided by -3. So 5 divided by -3 is -1.667. That is explanatory, self-explanatory. 5 integer division by integer division by -3. You might think that it could be -1, but in fact it is -2. And my understanding is that, let me actually draw something. Draw. And so you have a number line like this, right? So this is 0. If you have, so -2, -1, 1, 2. Okay, so integer division, if you get 1.66 somewhere here, then for positive values, it will give you 1, right? In here, right? If the answer is 1.666, and then you do the integer division, it will move to the left and look for the most nearest integer. Okay, and then I believe it should be the same for negative values. So if this is -1.66, then it will also look to the left and see the nearest integer, and the value is -2. Okay, so that explains why 5 integer division by -3 gives you -2. Okay, and then you use this -2 times -3, which gives you actually 6, right? And then you use 5 minus 6, which gives you -1, which is the answer for modulus. Okay, I am just gonna clear all the drawings here, and then back to normal. Okay, so this is how it works. And after all those talking, I want to illustrate you that in Python, this is how it works. Okay, and I also want to remind you that, I mean, modulus by a negative number does not actually make sense. So we should actually be careful of that, and it is good that, you know, we can avoid using that, because you know, the behavior is different in different languages. It is not that meaningful in real life. It is just the behavior of the language. So that is something to keep in mind. Okay. And this, interestingly, if you have a -5 modulus by 3, the answer will be different. And it is interesting, because once again, if you use -5 divided by 3, I can illustrate you here. So print -5 divided by 3. This will give you -2, right? Because this is the same. It will give you -1.66. Then it will give you -2. And then -5 minus -2 times 3, right? So the answer is just -5 minus -2 minus -2 multiply, oops, then multiply by 3. Okay, so let me add those brackets. Yeah, so it is -5 minus -6 gives you 1. Okay, so that is something that is very interesting. If you're curious, you can go ahead and play with it after the class, but in the class, that is it for this topic. Okay, so I am done with modulus. Let's continue to this. This is easy. Times just means power. On the left side, it is me, and then on the right side is called 指数, right? So like 5 times 2 just means 5 to the power of 2, which is 5 squared, right? And 2 times 5 just gives me 2 to the power of 5, which is 32. And what you can do there is you can also pass in like floating point numbers, right? And then you do like if you pass in like 1/3, it just gives you like 立方根, right? Like yeah, if you know math, then you will know that 立方根 is just something to the power of 1/3, right? And then something to the power of 0.5 is just a square root, right? So that is some use cases for that, and that is why in the operator it does not have like 就是根号啊这种东西，因为你就可以全部用小数来表示。Okay, and next, bitwise operators. This is a challenging topic. It is not required to apply. Um, let me actually think if I should actually teach this, or if I should actually teach this right now. Okay, what I decide to do is I will leave it here, and I will continue on my lecture. And if there is extra time, then I will go back. And if there is not, then I will just leave it there. I have comments. I have commented it pretty good. If there is question, then you might potentially just ask me after class if you're interested. Okay, next things next. Assignment operator extended. So after those arithmetic operators, there is more assignment operators. And so plus equals, the use case is x plus equals to y is equivalent to x plus y, x equals x plus y, right? So basically it means that you have the value x and then you just stack your value y there, right? And if it is a string, then you just concatenate it, right? And then the plus or minus or multiply or divide those works exactly like before, right? But it is just doing this add and assignment in the same step. Okay, so yeah, so you have this add equal, minus equal, multiply equal, divide equal, division, integer division equal, modulus equal. This is power equal. Yeah, it is funny to actually say it out loud. Bitwise operator, those ones, I don't think you actually need to use that. Yeah, but just one little example for the idea. X equals to 1, y equals to 2, x plus equals to 2, print x will give you 3. Okay, so that is that. And I mean, I don't need more examples. This is just straightforward. You don't have to necessarily use those operators. You could totally write this, but you know, programmers are just lazy. And yeah, also another thing, this reminds me, one thing to keep in mind, if you have experience with C or Java, you will know that there is a operator called plus plus, right? Or minus minus. And who those of you who does not know, in C or Java, plus plus means just plus one to that variable, and then minus minus just means minus one to that variable. But in Python, that is not a thing. It gives me invalid syntax. So it is not a thing. Do not use it. Forget about it when you are coding it using Python. So that is just some comments and something to watch out. Okay. So next thing, index operator. So we have dealt with the index before, but I want to introduce some new stuff. So this here, I have a string from 0 to 9, and then if I have those from 0 to 10, you can actually tell that it is out of bund, but it still works okay. I am not actually sure what that kind of behavior it is, but I mean, if it's doing okay, then I would I would be okay with that. And you don't have to do this, right? Yeah. So let me introduce it fully. So this is the starting index. This is the ending index. This is the step length. So basically, it says like from 0 to 9, step 2, right? This is basically saying that you count the first one, and then you skip the next one, which is 1, and then you count 2, right? And then you skip another one, and you do 4, 6 and 8, okay? And then after it increments when it is larger than the ending point, then it automatically ends, okay? And then you can also do this 1 to 9, and then step 2. And then this index also follows the rule of not including, okay? So I think it is it works because on the second index, it means it does not include a 10, which is like from 0 to 9, and then in this case from 1 to 9. Okay, and what you can also do is you can skip this. Uh, if you don't write anything here, this is valid, and it will give you the same result. Because if you don't write anything, it will automatically be the first one, right? All the way to the top. I mean, all the way to the beginning. And then if you don't write this, this is okay as well. It means all the way to the end, right? Yeah, so that is that. I am curious, actually, how does this work? But yeah, look at that. How amazing is it? So you just you just ignore, you just don't write the starter index and the ending index, and you just write column there, and it will output you the entire thing. Okay, so that is just those tiny things, little tricks in terms of dealing with indexes. Indexes is always important, as I have illustrated so many times. Okay, so in this case, this is even number, odd number. Okay, next topic is comparison operator. Okay, so there is greater than, greater or equal than, less than, lesser equal than, equal equal. This actually means equal, and exclamation mark, not equal. Okay, so every time you not it, then you just do that. Okay, and there is another thing. This operator is called is, and it checks if two variable reference to the same object. So before we actually get into the idea of object-oriented programming, this can be a little bit hard to understand. But that means that if the two objects are the same thing, right? And I will illustrate you through the example how actually to understand this. So is not just means the not version of it, right? So keep in mind the syntax. Okay, so yeah, those are easy examples. A is equal to 5, B is equal to 4, C is equal to 3, A larger than B, true, larger or equal to 5, true, B is less than 4, false, B is less or equal to 4, true, A minus 1, 5 minus 1 is equal to 4, true, A is not equal to 4, A is not equal to B, which means 5 is not equal to 4, true, and then true is equal to true, definitely true. That is a little bit too much here. Remember that true is equal to true is exactly the same as true. So yeah, just to keep in mind. And what you actually want to do is maybe true and true. So yeah, that is another thing that we're gonna talk about it later in the lecture. So don't worry about it if you don't get it. Yeah, so in terms of is, okay, so we have introduced a module. This module is called time. A is equal to time dot get gm time, and then B is equal to time dot gm time, and then this time just basically so yeah, I ran it last night. So if I run it again, so you'll have a bunch of input outputs, right? But like, don't worry about it. So time dot get time, time dot get time, then print A and print B. This will give you a structure, okay? And you can sort of see what is going on here. So year is 2021, month is 7, day is 9, today is July 9th, hour is 15. You know, I think it's GMT time, right? Like I think it is you know 就是格林威治时间吧，好像是这个应该也无所谓了，对吧？就反正这是一个时间，对不对？So but it is an object, right? You can do A is equal to equal to B, right? And this could be true, right? So every field of this structure of this object is the same, and you know the constructor must have override and yeah. 就是它重写了一下 equal 的方法，但是说这个东西吧，可能我们现在还不需要了解，但是说就是说，比如说我这边 a equal to b，这边是可以给 true 的，但是呢 a is b means false, right? So like a has the same value of b. It is saying that you know 我有1块钱，你有1块钱，但是我不是你，对吧？是吧？大概意思就是这样吧，好吧？So A is B will give me false. And then to illustrate that, there is a built-in function that is just for your reference or just to illustrate you. You don't have to know this. Print ID. So the ID function is like an internal function in Python that actually gets you the address of a variable. Okay, so if you call IDA and then IDB, you can see here those two are actually two different addresses. Okay, that means that those two variables are actually different. Okay, and then I just print an empty line. But if I assign B using A, right? So assign A to B, then I print those two IDs, and they are the same. and then if you print A as B, then it will be true. Okay, so that is the use case for the if operator. The as operator, sorry about that, is the as operator, and it just basically compares if two objects are the same object. Okay. Yeah, so after that, I'm gonna talk about logic operator. So logic operator, and or not. If you have experience with any kind of programming language, you will find something similar. So and means it is true when both of the operand is true. Okay, so it is true when both of the operand is true, and it is only true when the both of the operand is true. Okay, and then or means it is only false when both of the operand is false. Okay, not just means that you just negate that idea. And then if you are not too familiar, run this cell. You can see true and true gives you true, true and false gives you false, false and true gives you false, false and false give you false. Okay, so that means it is only true when both of the operand is true. And or here, so true or true gives you true, true or false gives you true, false or true gives you true, false or false gives you false. Okay, so that is the idea. And print not false gives you true, print not true gives you false. So that is self-explanatory. And any kind of logical expressions, for example, you can mix those, right? So for example, A is larger than 5 and B is less than 2, right? Like you can manipulate with those logical operations. Okay, and yeah, so I am gonna introduce, since we talked about logical operators, it would make sense if I just come into here and actually introduce if condition, uh, like introduce conditions in Python. Okay, so the syntax looks like this. So if something something, and then column, and then elif means else if. So you have if for one case, else if for another case, and then else is default case. So um, the previous if cases does not work, then you go to else cases. Okay, so this is a example. Oh, also note that indentation actually matters in Python. So you might deal with other kind of languages, and other kind of languages may do not care about indentation. That means, for example, if I have another tab here in other language, this will probably be fine. Oh, this is fine as well. Okay, yeah. Anyways, the indentation actually matters. If yeah, if I do something like this will be false. So expected an indentation block. So I mean, don't do anything that is weird like this. You sort of if there is a if case, then inside the if case, make sure to press the tab button to actually indent. And indentation is, Python is a indentation sensitive language. Okay, so that is just the thing to watch out. And I'm assuming that you guys all know how to indent. Um, so yeah, this is a little program that always gives me the largest number. And this is called like, this is an easy exercise for if analysis. Okay, so for example, A is 1, B is 2, and C is 3. So you're gonna say like if A is larger than B, right? So if A is larger than B, if A is larger than C, so A is larger than both B and C, so A is the largest. Else, if A is less than C, means that C is larger than A, right? And A is larger than B means C is the largest, right? And then else means that A is less or equal to B, right? And I mean, if there is equal cases, it doesn't matter which one you print, you will always get you will get the largest number anyway. But like this is the case for like B is larger than A. So if B is larger than A, then check if B is larger than C. If B is larger than C as well, then print C. Print B, else print C. Okay, so yeah, if you do not understand the logic, I recommend you to, for example, go home and actually, I mean, use a bunch of variables, right? And you can actually see those and how it works. Okay, I'm putting in like different kind of numbers. You know, you can when you try to test it, you want to have those edge cases, right? You want to test when C is largest, what happens when A is largest, what happens, right? Yeah, so my program works, and if you do not understand it, I recommend you to go home and I mean you're at home. Yeah. So after the lecture, you should just go through it line by line, and you know, make sure you get a lot of practice on those. Okay. And this piece of code, if you are really lazy and if you don't actually want to use your brain, you can do this, right? If A is larger than B and A is larger than C, print A. Also, if B is larger than A and B is larger than C, print B. Also, if C is larger than A and C is larger than B, print C. It is a boring code, but it works. Yeah, so I mean, this use case is just to introduce you else if. Else if in most languages it's called else if, but like in Python it's called elif. Um, I recommend you to say it out loud for when you're coding, so that you don't actually accidentally type else if. Yeah, so you can say like if elif elif elif, some sort of thing like this. Yeah, so I mean, this code is boring, but this code works. And this also is a use case for the logical operator and or not, right? So you print A when the both of the condition is filled, right? So A larger than B and A larger than C. When both of the condition is satisfied, then you print A, okay? And ternary operator in Chinese is called 三目运算符, and it basically works like this. It is a short version of a if condition. Okay, so you can have assignments, you can have prints, but yeah. So for example, y is equal to 0, and then I just assign a variable, and then s x is equal to 0 if y is equal to 1, else y. Okay, so yeah, so you're basically saying that, you know, if y is equal to 1, then give x 0, but if not, y is not equal to 1, then you give x 1, right? And then the other works like this. Okay, and then I mean, this ternary operator is just a I mean, easy way or a lazy way to write an if statement. You could totally write this, right? So like if you want to be very, um, you know, civilized, you can do like this. X equal to 0, else x equal to 1, right? But like when you get familiar with coding, you will probably like this style, because Python is just this easy. You can do a lot of things in one line. if you look at code in Python, and if you do the same thing in other kind of languages, Python can be very short in terms of length. It is because programmers are lazy, and also it is because we are evolving and actually thinking of better solutions instead of writing a whole page code. Okay, so the in operator. The in operator, we have already talked about this a little bit, and we're going to officially do this. So it checks if a string contains a substring or a list contains a element. Okay, so for example, a is equal to list 1 2 3, and it is okay that you have not seen the data type list yet. I will definitely introduce it on the next week, hopefully next lecture. Okay, so that is something that to keep in mind. But yeah, list. So list, in the list there is number 1, number 2, number 3, and then you just print 1 in A. So it checks if 1 is in the list, and print it, and it says true, right? And when A is equal to ABC, you do print A in the string A, then it will give you true as well. Okay, and that is it for the in operator. Okay, so order of operation. It is a boring topic. I'm not gonna say it is boring. Sometimes teachers gonna maybe examine you on this. Um, I don't I don't have a strong feeling of those, so I wouldn't say it is a meaningful thing to test. But yeah, the order of operations. This means that when the program or your compiler is actually compiling your code, right? And it certainly needs to follow a specific operation, a specific order, right? Like when you write a piece of code, the compiler will first know like what to look first and what to look second, third, or fourth. There is definitely an order, and this is the table. So parenthesis is always the first one. Um, exponent. Exponent is the next one. So you do like the exponential part, and then unary plus, unary minus, bitwise not. Yeah, so it is just those unary things that deal with only one variable. Okay, and then multiplication, division, floor division, modulus. So 就是有关乘除的，对吧？这个只是就是说，这个只是说，比如说你负号一下，你在某一个数字之前加个负号，你肯定不会先乘除，然后再把它负了一下吧，对吧？你肯定先负号，然后再乘除它，对不对？然后那乘除之后就是加减呗，那乘除之后加减，对吧？然后加减，再次要的呢，就是这些 bitwise 的 operation，这都不算特别重要，对，不是很会需要用到这些。当然我会讲，但是日常生活中或者正常的 programming 当中，一般都不太需要用到这些，或者说你如果是写 Python 的话，是不需要用到这些。Comparisons, identity, membership, operators. So like here, comparisons equal, not equal, larger than, blah blah blah, and then is not, in, not in, right? So yeah. Also watch out the order here. To negate is, you say is not. You say in. To negate in, you say not in, right? This is sort of like English language. It follows the rule of English language, right? You don't say not is, right? You say is not, and you don't say in not, you say not in, okay? and then logical not, logical and, logical or. Okay, so it basically first compares. Oops, I double clicked the image and it shows the source code. Okay, yeah, so you first compare, right? And you just do, for example, 1 equal to 2, and then you got false, and then you put that into a logical operator. But with this, even though we have the order of operation table, it does not mean that you can, you can write some piece of code and expect someone else to understand your code. For example, I'll give you an example, right? So 1 equal to 3 plus 3, or 8 negative 8 mod 3, right, and then plus 2, and then equal to 5. And A is larger than C. You can do all this, right? And for sure the compiler will give you an answer. Interesting as that. But no person can read your code. Okay, like no person can read your code. It does. There is zero readability in terms of this. If you if you actually write this code when you're in a company, or you're doing I don't know if your boss is gonna fire you, but if I am your boss, I'm definitely gonna fire you. So yeah, make sure you use brackets. Okay, make sure you use brackets, and like, be clear of what you mean. Okay, like, be nice to the person who is reading your code. Okay, so yeah, so the idea is, even though you have this order of operation table, that still means that you can use your you can use parentheses, which is brackets, to actually increase the readability of your code and actually explain what you're thinking. Like, when you look at your code, like, after a year, you will get confused of what you're talking about. Okay, yeah, so yeah, so the next topic is, we are going to do a little bit of introduction in loop, because we have talked about Python for quite a while, and then we have not introduced a loop yet. It is because with loops there is more complicated exercises, and I don't want actually to get into that complexity this far. But yeah, I'm trying to give you, some exercises slowly, bit by bit, so that you know, you can get more, more familiarity with Python before we actually do those exercises. So yeah, loops, while loops and for loops. Those are just two kinds of loops in Python. I'm not sure if there's do while loops. I don't think so, but like nobody actually use that, and everything you can do is using a do while loop. It can actually deal with it using while loop. Okay, so while loop looks like this. So you have a while condition. I'm just gonna comment this out. I'm just gonna comment this out. So if you have a while condition, right? And then this is the loop body, which is called 循环体, right? And then this is called the condition for the loop. So I initialize I is equal to 0, and then while I is less than 10, then I print I, and then I plus equals 1. And then what this does is it prints the number from 0 to 9. Okay, as easy as that. So that is not a complicated one. Okay, so yeah, and to introduce other features in loop, there is a thing called continue, which means that you know, sort of, if this condition is fulfilled, then you just go to the next iteration of the loop. Okay, but yeah, on second thought, this does not make sense. So here, what I should do is I would put it here, and then I would do I plus equals 1. You know what? Let me actually do this. So right now it is going into a infinite loop, or I would say it's sort of a dead loop, because the loop is never actually gonna go out. Okay, and then if you try to read this code here, so I'm just gonna stop this for now. So just the program does not crash. So I is equal to 0 here, while I is less than 10. Right? You do if I is equal to 1, but when it's 0, then of course not. And then if I is equal to 5, then of course it is not. Then I print I, and then I increment it by 1, right? And then I is plus equals to 1. Now I is 1, right? And then if I is 1, then continue. So it skips the rest of the loop and get into the next iteration. Okay, so immediate ATE. Yeah, I'm not sure if it spells right, but you get my idea. Immediately get into the next iteration of the loop. Okay, immediately get into your next iteration of the loop. So it actually skips the increment line. So the I will be forever 1, and the I equals to 1 will be forever true, and the I is less than 10 will also be forever true. And if you run this, you get into infinite loops. Okay, and you can see, you know, this little green arrow. It says like now is I is equal to 1, then you check, it just never goes out. And to fix this, if I do this, then it is good enough. So it's basically saying that, you know, I is equal to 1, then I still increment it, but I continue. So it does not actually print 1 because I skipped this iteration, right? And then if I is not equal to 1, then you continue normally. You print 2, print 3, print 4, and then if I is equal to 5, then you would do is break. Break means just break outside of the loop, which means imagine you have a cursor that is here, then if you do break outside of the loop, it just moves here instead of move back onto this while condition. Okay, so this is loops. This is a short introduction on loops. It is okay that we are not yet familiar with it. When we're talking about more stuff, then we're definitely going to use loops more. Then you can get yourself familiar with it. Okay, then for loops. For loop is just more nice. I hate while loops because you have to deal with the index yourself. I like for loops because when you run it, you said for I in range 10. What does that mean? There's a function called range, and this basically gives you an object I don't know if you have heard of iterator before, but like this just means that basically I would imagine it gives you like a list of variable, right? But like it automatically increase I after each iteration. Okay, so the range 10 just means like from 0 to 9, right? And then for I in range 10, I do print I, right? And it just gives me from 0 to 9, right? And then you can also specify the range. So for example, for I in range 1, 10, and then step 2, right? And then the step 2 works exactly like the index. So yeah, from 1 to 10. Also be aware of that, you know, if you're using two index, it works exactly the same as dealing with list. So include left, not include right. And if you do step 2 and you can do step 3 as well, then you can do like 1, 4, 7, right? And if you do step 4, you 1, 5, 9, sort of goes on and on, right? So yeah, that is the idea of for loop. I like to use for loop. It is just nice and easy. You do not have to worry about other kind of stuff. Yeah, okay. And because of this in operator, we can also do, yeah, I might want to add an example here. So a is equal to 1, 2, 3 for I in a, print I. So you can also do this. You can also iterate through a list, okay? And it is because this in operator, okay? So this in operator is like, you know, check if like for every I, like when you read this, it is like for every I is just a, you know, sort of a iterator, right? You can actually use any any kind of name here. It does not matter, but it is a personal preference to use I. So for every I in A, right? A could be a list. You can use range A as well. um, like this does the same thing, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? It basically does the same thing as this one. So for I in range 10, but like, yeah, this is so that you know everything you can iterate. And when I say everything you can iterate, there is a lot of things that you can iterate. But also I would suspect that B is equal to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then I can do this. Oops. And watch out this. If I do this, it will be loop in a loop. So it's a, you know, uh, nested loop. But don't do that for now. We're gonna talk about it in detail later. I'm wondering if this works, and unfortunately this works. And you know, strings are another object that we can iterate. And for now, I am just going to introduce those two things. And there is definitely more things that can be iterated. Uh, those are two examples. And I just, you know, basically introduce you the idea of loops so that you can, you know, finish a little bit of exercise. We are going to talk about it a lot more when we introduce these ideas like, you know, um, lists and tuple and dictionary. Okay, so those are, data types is what we're gonna learn next week. Okay, so that is that. Um, so I will explain a little bit exercise, and then I will come back for the bit operator. I hope that I have like 5 minutes to briefly explain it for who of those are interested in. Okay, so this is not that hard. I mean, it is pretty long as well, but like, yeah. Write a Python program to find those numbers who are divisible by 7 and a multiple of 5. So yeah, it basically means divisible by 5 and divisible by 7 between 1,500 and 2,700, both included. Okay, so yeah, you're definitely gonna need using loops. Just giving you a little bit of practice, and there is also like if conditions and those kind of stuff. And write a program that accepts a world from user and reverse it. Okay, so like you might want to say a is equal to input, something, and then you try to reverse it. Okay, and then you're definitely going to need to use for loops and indexes of string. And then the classic one, every day, every time, when you do loops, when you do if statements in any kind of language, you would occur to this kind of problem. So it is called fizzbuzz. Um, from you will iterate from integer from 1 to 50. For multiples of 3, print fizz instead of number. For multiples of 5, print buzz. And then for numbers that are multiple for both 3 and 5, print fizz buzz. And then sample output will be like fizz buzz, because 0 is divis 0 mod 3 is 0, 0 mod 5 is 0. Okay, so yeah, sort of like this. And it might occur to you that the first and the third practice question are pretty much very similar, and you have the right feeling, it is similar. Okay, and yeah, so write a Python program to find the median of 3 values. That is a just purely for if, right? So yeah, okay, and that is if statement. I don't think you're gonna use loop for this question. And yeah, more advanced question in terms of loops. Print out the first 15 terms of Fibonacci sequence. This is also a classic one. It is challenging. You might need to think more. And who those of you, I think you all know Fibonacci sequence, right? And those of you who don't know, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, etc. Okay, so it is basically that the first two terms are 1, and the next term is the sum of previous two terms. Okay, and then you just need to print out the first 15 terms of Fibonacci sequence using a loop. And do not try to cheat. Do not try to cheat by like calculating them out yourself. And if you want to do that, I am gonna increase this number to like 20 or 30, and it would definitely have a fun time calculating those. Okay. So yeah, that's briefly about exercises. Okay. Yeah, is there any questions already in terms of today's lecture, or like those sort of exercises like at first glance? There any questions, concerns? Yeah, feel free to shout out. And if there is no questions, then I'm gonna go to this bitwise operators. So I'm gonna wait 2 minutes. So I will wait until 11:54. So get your mind taking a break for like 2 minutes. And yeah. Do we have classes on weekends? No. Yeah. Weekends are for us to take a good break. And if you have anything that is unclear or needs more practice, then it is a good time to like take in. I think it is a lot of content for 3 lectures, 0x0. Um, it is hexadecimal 0. Yeah. Yeah, when I first look at it, it is hexadecimal 0. And the second thought occurred to me is that this is a 言表情. But yeah, I mean, yeah, back to weekends. So yeah, weekends is for us to take good break and try to review a bit what is talked about. And if you have not finished those exercises, I highly recommend you to take a little bit of time and do that. And yeah, and it is also for me to take some time to break and actually prepare the next week's lecture in terms of like doing slides or actually try them out myself. Okay. And yeah, so that is 2 minutes. The break time is up. It is pretty short break, but yeah. Okay, bitwise operators. This is hard. This is for people who have already known binary. If you do not know, it is okay. I would though recommend you to take a look into, because if you want to do like computer science, like I think most of the people will know this. This is very basic language, very basic knowledge of computer science. So without further ado, bitwise operators: bitwise AND, bitwise OR, bitwise XOR, bitwise NOT, left shift and right shift. Okay. And to give you as an example, I will quickly go through it. So I will use a programming calculator. I have dropped a link here. It is not saying that I do not know how to calculate it, but for those who do not know, then if I put decimal 5, what the fuck? Yeah, here. If I put decimal 5 in binary, this is 0, 1, 0, 1. Like those are all leading zeros, okay? And you do not need to care about that. So in this binary here, this means 0, 1, 0, 1. And in binary, numbers work like this. Okay, so I am just gonna give you a brief introduction. So for example, 1001 means that 1 times 2 to the power of 0 plus 0 times 2 to the power of, oh, yeah, 0 times 2 to the power of 1 plus 0 times 2 to the power of 2 plus 1 times 2 to the power of 3. So what that means is, for example, if we read from right to left, so the first bit will be the least significant bit. What that means is 1 times 2 to the power of 0, which on this bit it means 1. It is like 就是它的 idea 是就是位权，然后就是每一位它其实是有一个权重的，位权。权是权利的权，就是说它每一位都是有一个权重的，它每一位都是有一个 weight 的。就比如说，如果是十进制的话，那么每一位就比如说是10的0次方，10的1次方，对吧？因为比如说个十百千万嘛，每一位都是，比如说第二位是10，对吧？所以就是10，然后100，那么第三就是从右往左数，第三位就是100，就是如果你上面比如说有个数字，比如说5，那么就是5乘100就是500，对吧？那么这位权的 idea 就是这样的。那么in binary 也是一样的，就是二进制嘛，二进制就是把10换成2，对吧？那么就是1乘以 2 to the power of 0， 对吧？加上 0 times 2 to the power of 1, right? Like go on, so on, so forth. And then第一位这边就是1 times 10 to the power 2 to the power of 3, right? So 所以5这边就是101，对吧？这位是4，这位是2，这位是1， 4加1等于5，对吧？那么5就是这样，前面加一个0无所谓，前面加多少个0其实都一样，好吧？前面加多少个0都一样。那么9，对吧？9是1001，对吧？8001，对吧？8加1等于9。OK， 那么 bitwise and 是什么意思 ？bitwise and 就是说你把这个东西和这个东西，每一位都 and 一下。怎么每一位都 and 呢？比如说这里第一位是0，这里第一位是1，0 and 1就是0，对吧？1 and 0也是0。0 and 0也是0，1 and 1是1，所以它的结果 5 bitwise and 9 is 1，对吧？那么 bitwise or 呢 ？bitwise or 就是说，如果有一个1，它就是1，对吧？那么就是说0101和1001，那么如果有一位是1的话，那么就是你看这第一位有个1吗？写个1，对吧？第二位有个1吗？写个1，第三位00 ，OK 写个0，第四位11，我们还是写个1，对吧？因为这是 or operator， 就是说就是像我们之前提到那个 or 一样。OK， 那么如果说 bitwise or 的话，结果就是1001。那么1001是多少呢？8加4加1等于13。OK， 下面是13，好吧 ？OK， 那么5 XOR 9 XOR means it is only one when two digit are different。怎么记呢？就是说5 XOR 9，还是拿这个例子来0101和1001。那么 XOR 的意思就是说，比如说如果你有一位是不一样的，那么你会写1。那么比如说你看5的第一位是0， 9的第一位是1，你就写个1，对吧？5的第二位是1， 9的第二位是0，那么就写个1，对吧？因为它们不一样，对吧？然后第三位呢？第三位是不一样的，写个0。哦不，第三位是一样的，对不起，第三位这个0和这个0是一样的，对吧？写个0。那么第四位呢？最后一位呢？最后一位也是1，那么就是都一样的，都是写个0。所以1100 8加4等于12。OK， 那么 bitwise not 就是说，如果说你可以把它说成，比如说binary，如果是5的话是101，对吧？那么如果是如果你需要 not 它的话，那么就是 flip all the bits，right？ flip all the means bits means 把0变成1和把1全部变成0，然后因为是这个东西，所以你前面总是加一位0。OK， 因为它是一个 positive number， 这个 beyond the scope of this course，OK， 就是说，这个是一个 negative number，and 如果你有兴趣的话，你可以read about two's complement， 或者你有兴趣下了课的话，我看时间已经到了，那么反正你有兴趣，如果下了课的话，你可以看一看，学一学，聊一聊这些东西如果你有兴趣问我的话，那我 Discord 上也可以给你解答。或者上给你解答 ，OK， 然后 bit shift bit shift means adding if you shift left by 2，如果你向左 shift 2的话，那么就是乘以两位就是4，对吧？你就是比如说你把所有，你就想嘛，如果你是往左小数点往左往右移2位，也就是整个往左移2位。那么如果在十进制里面，那就是乘了100，对不对？往左移1位就是乘了1，那么二进制里也是一样的，那就是乘了4，对吧？那么往右移2位呢，那就是除了4，对吧？就是基本上就是这么回事。好那就是 very quick introduction to bitwise operators. Not it is a challenging topic. It needs extra knowledge. It is not required. If you're interested, let me know and I can talk more. Okay. So that is it for today's lecture. Is there any last minute questions before we actually head out and have a nice weekend? 有没有什么问题吗？
目前没有。
目前没有是吧？反正如果有什么问题的话啊，那个 Discord 上面 contact me。
好的。
好的。好的，那么今天的 lecture 就这样了。那么我们周一10点钟，好吧？周一10点钟见。好的。
好的。
OK，拜拜。
好，谢谢，拜拜。
Nice weekend，拜拜。
Good weekend，bye。
谢谢，拜拜。
拜拜。